Hey there, Myzzrym here. I am the community lead of Tactical Adventures, and today it's the first time we're making a video format dev diary, and we're going to be talking about character creation. In case you just wandered by and you're not really sure what this game is about, Solasta is an upcoming turn-based, team-based tactical RPG that is also based on the SRD 5.1 rule set. So if you play a lot of tabletop yourself, you'll probably be familiar with half of what I'm going to be showing you, which is totally normal and intentional because we're very much fan of the tabletop ourselves, and we even have a campaign running right now at the office, although, it's online because of the current situation. So you might be looking at the screen and go, Hill Dwarves, Half-Elves, Humans, High Elves, yep, I know those. But then you notice Marsh Halfling and you're like, okay, Marsh Halfling, Island Halfling, Sylvan Elves, and Snow Dwarves, I don't really know those, and this is because these are native to Solasta. I'm not gonna go into details about how or why, because this is better left for another video or article about the lore, and we're just gonna be focusing on gameplay today. You might also be wondering, why are we making a video about character creation when we made an article about this last week? And this is because we actually thought that it would be kind of cool to show you how it looks like in-game, and not just through screenshots. So, of course, everything you're going to be seeing right now is early alpha. So you're going to see mistakes, you're going to see bugs maybe, and you're even going to be seeing things that probably are not going to make it into the final game. We are going to be doing a lot of balancing and all that kind of thing later on. So do not worry if you look at something and you're like, oh wow, this looks totally broken, because that's probably not going to make it into the final game. But still, if you want to send us comments about this, you can just write down comments on YouTube, or even send us messages on the forum, and we'll read those. It's always nice to have some input. But again, don't worry if you see something that just looks completely out of the ordinary. Sometimes it's just because we haven't balanced everything yet. So back to the topic at hand. We're starting with the race screen. So on the race screen, you will be able to, pick a race. And as you can see here on the left, whenever I select another race, I get to see what attribute modifier I'm gonna get. So, for example, Island Halfling is +2 Dexterity, +1 Charisma, and Snow Dwarf is +1 Dexterity and +2 Constitution. And you also have the Proficiency bonus, which is +2 for everyone because we all start at level 1, and the move speed per round, which is going to be 5 and 6 for human. And you might be wondering, okay, what does that actually mean? Well, very early during development, we realized that we would run into this little issue called units. So we have the US players playing with feet, so 30 feet movement speed, and then we have the other countries playing with meters. So in order to avoid having any issue with that, we decided that, hey, our game is, cell-based, tile-based, so, just like on Battlemat, 30 feet is 6 tiles. So we're just going to say you can move 6 tiles. And when you dash, you move 12 tiles, and that's going to be it. So every distance in gameplay purpose, we actually put the distance in tiles, which is going to be much easier to visualize when you play than having to convert 30 feet into how many tiles and all that kind of thing. On the right, you have all the information about what features you get from selecting a race and a sub-race. So for example, Halfling here get 5 tiles of movement speed, +2 Dexterity, Brave, Lucky, and Halfling Nimbleness. And if you're Island Halfling, you also get +1 Charisma and some languages. Whereas if you're a Marsh Halfling, you get +1 Constitution and not as many languages. Again, it might change later on for the sub-races feature. Don't take everything here as final. You are also able to select your sex. And if you're wondering why we actually put that so early on, don't worry, first of all, you'll be able to, customize your character at the very end in the identity screen, but it's because we actually make the player visualize the classes through that avatar. So if you, for example, pick a Cleric, you'll see that the avatar will get Cleric, items. And I can show you right now on the class screen. So, first of all, you can see the class screen. When we started, we only had 4 classes when we first pitched the game. We had a Cleric, a Fighter, a Wizard, and a Rogue, which is pretty much, your standard to-go RPG party, having like 1 frontline, 1 sneaky guy, 1 healer, and 1, magic spellcaster. And then during the Kickstarter, we actually reached quite a few stretch goals, and we added the Paladin and the Ranger. And we almost also reached the Sorcerer stretch goal, not quite, but we, since we were quite there, almost quite there, we decided to add it as a free DLC post-launch. So we have announced a total of 7 classes: Cleric, Fighter, Paladin, Ranger, Rogue, Wizard, and Sorcerer. And we had some people asking us, is that by design that only have 7 classes announced? Like, no, we don't hate druids, we don't hate bards, we don't hate warlocks. We would love to have them, but again, we're a small team of 17 people, so we have to make sure that we actually are able to get the game out of the gates. So all of these classes we're talking about that are not here, such as the druid, the bard, and etc., we'll have to see later on if we can add them, maybe as a DLC, maybe as an update. But we don't want to make promises right now because, you know, it depends on a lot of things. So, looking at the classes, as you can see, if I pick up a Cleric, my avatar here will be wearing Scale Mail. If I pick up a Fighter, she will be wearing a Chainmail. And we also implemented a a rule that is in the tabletop version, which is the starting equipment. You can actually click here on Edit Equipment, and you'll be able to select the different starting options, such as for the Fighter, you can actually pick up a leather armor instead of a chainmail. And you'll see that if I say click on Validate, my character now is wearing a leather armor. It's the same if I decide to not go for sword and longsword and shield, but I actually decide to go for dual-wielding scimitars. And now I have a character dual-wielding scimitars. So this is actually kind of cool for us. We thought that it would be very nice to help the player visualize what the character would look like. And for those who might be wondering as well, okay, I have like a lot of information here, but I kind of want to know what I can expect at higher levels. You have a button here telling you at which level you're going to unlock what. So for the Paladin, you see that level 2 you unlock Divine Smite. Level 3, you actually get a Sacred Oath, so that's when you're unlocking your subclass as a Paladin, and so on and so forth. So you can see here, ability score, choose between increasing an ability score or gaining a bonus feat. Again, we're saying that we will have feats. This was a question because, of course, since feats are not necessarily part of every game, we decided that, yeah, we kind of like feats, so we are designing a few for Solasta. So, depending on the class you choose, you will see that you have different screens on the bottom. Clerics, of course, get the Deity screen because they get to choose their divine domain. So for example, if I choose Iron, I get the choice between the Elemental Fire domain, the Ice domain, the Lightning domain, and the Sun domain. And if I choose Enter, I'm going to have the choice between the Battle domain and the Law domain. Again, for the other gods, I have, for example, here the Life domain, which is the SRD option, and the Oblivion domain. And at Life, we have the Law domain and the Insight domain. So all of these gods are native to Solasta. Again, not going to go into details about it, because this is going to be left for another video. But if I go back and I decide to choose, for example, Fighter, I will not have a special screen straight on, but you can see that I will be able to select my fighting style here. And for Ranger, I can actually choose directly here for my favorite enemy if I want like Beast, Celestial, Construct, etc, etc. And same for my favorite terrain. So let's go with a Wizard, so I can actually show you also the different spells that you'll be able to select. So again here, if I don't want to start with the quarter stuff but with the dagger, I can do so. So now we go into the background screen, and the background screen has quite a lot of information that is quite important to make your character come to life. If I pick a background here, you can see that I have personality flags, and it says choose 2. So every different background will get you different personality flag, although some of them will overlap. For example, here I have Authority, Kindness, Violent, and Cynicism for Sellsword. And for low life, I actually chose something that had nothing in common, so good counterexample. But here for the Spy, for example, and for the low life, I see that Spy has Greed, and my low life also has Greed. So those personality flags are going to help you to customize as to how your character talks and acts in-game. The big problem about having a video game compared to tabletop is that you don't have a dungeon master who is able to react to everything you say, and you yourself are unable to tell exactly what your character is going to say on a video game. You will have to choose between different options. So the way we actually kind of move around that to keep a little bit of personality for every single character is that you will be able to select those flags, and by selecting those flags, whenever there's a dialogue, the computer will be choosing and selecting from a list of lines depending on the flags that you have. So for example here, if I want that my wizard is a lowlife that is greedy and egotistic, I will just select greed and egoism, and you can see here that in the personality I have slang, casual, greed, and egoism. You might be wondering why slang and casual here, even though I didn't select those. Those are flags that are based on the background itself. So a lowlife is not going to talk like a noble. So for example, if I picked aristocrat, you can see that aristocrat talks more formally, just like the philosopher. But if you took a look at the sellsword, he will be a little bit more casual and slang. Of course, background also give you the usual, which is a couple of like proficiencies and you know, special features, and sometimes they give you also additional equipment. Here you can see the lowlife only gets commoner clothing, but if I was to pick up an aristocrat, I get extra cash, a sigil ring, and a noble garb. And you can see that again my character's equipment has changed. So let's just go on with our idea of lowlife. So lowlives doesn't necessarily block your alignment. Here you can see that my alignment can be whatever I wish for. So I could say, hey, my lowlife is actually a very good person. He's a neutral good person. He has like a lot of things in you know, at heart. And you can see that here I have, because I selected neutral good, again different personality flags that I can choose from, and that are going to be added on top of these to make like a word cloud. And basically it has a weight system to say, hey, your character is a bit greedy, but he's also kind of kind. Of course, you know, if you go for conflicting flags, right now we don't have a system to block those, but maybe in the future we'll have, you know, greed and altruism like grayed out or something, or you know, egoism and altruism being opposite, so they are grayed out if you choose one. Right now it's still, everything is possible, so you can just pick up on everything. But let's say I'm actually someone who's neutral, lawful neutral, and you see that I'm greedy, I'm egotistic, but I'm also very pragmatic and someone who's very cautious. And you can see there that pragmatism and caution has 1 over greed and egoism, but it doesn't mean that they disappeared. It's just that they show the 4 most, you know, the 4 strongest flags. But you can actually choose to reinforce some flags by just doubling down. For example here, if I wanted to have someone who is really greedy and that was lawful evil, I just go for the greed, and I see that the greed is now doubled. It changed color, it has like a big score, so even if I put something else like violence, you can see that greed is still very much up front. So let's go with our lawful evil wizard that comes from the streets, and click on next. Now we have the ability score screen, which is the screen where people will usually spend a lot of time rolling and everything. I've seen a lot of comments from people saying, hey, you know, rolling dice on a single player game is making sure that people can cheat and just roll whatever they want, because you know, you can keep on re-rolling until you get the perfect score. What I want to say with that is that if you want to cheat, we are not going to take this possibility away from you. It's a single player game, and if you don't want to cheat, you can just use the point buy system or the standard array, and you know, be happy about it. Don't tell other people how to play. If they enjoy having high scores, that's fine for them. So you have the choice between rolling the dice as many times as you want and keeping this. We thought about for a moment, hey, what about like, you know, not letting people re-roll the dice? It's kind of a, you know, dumb idea, because we just realized that people who wanted to cheat, they're just gonna abort, create the same character again, and they're just gonna have a different score. And then if they are not happy about it, they're gonna abort and do the same thing again. So we're just basically messing with their time. We were just like, you know, making sure that they lose time by doing that. But it's not the point of it, right? We want people to play the game to have fun. So if their definition of fun is to have the highest scores possible, then so be it. So here, for those who might not be familiar with tabletop and wondering about what's all this standard array and point buy about. Point buy is basically a system so that you can put points into your different attributes, and this helps you make the character that you kind of want. So if you want a character that has like 12 everywhere, you can do so. Of course, you actually have some extra points, so you can just go ahead and actually put more. And the standard array is basically 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, 8. It's always like that. And you can just like drag and drop and say, I want my 15 in intelligence because I'm a wizard, and I want my 14 in dexterity because I kind of want to, like, you know, not get punched in the face and die immediately. And then constitution because I kind of want some HP and have a little bit more constitution for my concentration rolls. Also, if you're kind of lazy or if you don't really know how to best create your character, we have an optimize button, which is just going to attribute everything, you know, instead of you, and you're going to be able to just click on it and just done. You don't have to think about it. For those who might be like, hey, I got my character on tabletop and I have, you know, I know his stats and I kind of want him to be exactly the same, you have a free edition mode here. And that just allows you to put whatever score you want, up to a total of 18, of course, because you're still level 1. But imagine your tabletop character has like 5 in strength and like 18 in dexterity or something. Well, you can do that here. You can do whatever you want. So again, we're not telling you how to play, we're just saying, here are the options, play with the option you like. Alright, so now I jump into my skills screen, and I get to select 2 screens because I'm a wizard, and I can see that, for example, because I'm a low life, I already have Sleight of Hands and Stealth, and Deception. Intimidation, I'm not really sure if it's also from low life, but, you know, whatever. Here you can see that I can select class skills, and I can select medicine, I can select insight, I can select all of those different knowledge options such as history. And for those who might be wondering, yes, we will have you know, knowledge rolls sometimes when you interact with a statue, with a, you know, with a plant or something, and you might want to know about stuff. Well, here you go. This is how we're gonna do, like, you know, knowledge checks. And then you can see that I have proficiency with some tools, with some weapons, and some languages. Here you can see that the Thieves tools, even though I'm a wizard, I am proficient in Thieves tools because I'm a low life. So I got this Thieves tools proficiency. And at last we get into the spell screen. So the spell screen, you can see that I have 3 cantrips, and then I have 6 level 1 spells to choose from. You can already see that we have some spells that are of our own creation. I am not gonna go in details right now because, you know, again, spells and everything else here, balance still needs to be, you know, done. So you can see that here, Chill Touch, if I take a look at it, I see very basic information. I hold Alt for more information to get more, you know, if I don't really know what it is about. But if you know and play tabletop, you can just select your favorite ones. You might be wondering, hey, but what about those, you know, spells like Friend and all those like Minor Illusion and all that kind of thing? So you will see that not every spell is unfortunately going to make into the game, and that is because there's a lot of spells such as illusions that are very great on tabletop because you have the power of describing anything you want to your Dungeon Master, and your Dungeon Master says, hey, here's how it's gonna actually work out. We don't want to implement spells just for the heck of it and then have them be useless in game because, like, the computer doesn't know how to react to it. So there's a lot of things here that you won't see. Notably, there are spells that are, like, you know, that are very much RP spells, like Friends, you know, to influence NPCs and that kind of things. We don't have the manpower to write, like, you know, thousands and thousands of extra lines of dialogues to have the option of, hey, this guy actually got a friend spell casted on him, and, you know, when this friend spell ends and he realized that he's been, you know, he's been influenced by a spell, have him become, like, more negative towards you, and all those kind of things are very complicated. And again, since we're just a small team, we don't want to be falling into the trap of, you know, overscoping and just adding everything and saying, hey, we're gonna do everything, and then at the end we have like a meh experience because everything kind of works wonkily. So I'm gonna choke 6 spells, and we're just gonna jump into the next screen. And this is our last screen. So last screen is going to be about the character customization. You'll have different face templates, and you're going to have different hair shape, as well as hair colors, skin colors, and eye colors. And you also will have a you'll have a body shape slider. So we still have a slider to make your character more buff or more lean. So this is notably because, you know, you might want to have your fighter not be as thin as your mage. You might wonder, hey, is that the final number of hair shape or faces? Not necessarily. I don't really know exactly how many we will have, but you might be able to have more. We might be able to have more in the future. So you can select your, of course, you can type your first name, your family name, or you can roll, and you'll probably see a few names that our different Kickstarter backer have asked us to implement. And you will also have an option for 2 different voices for each character. And there you go. So again, in our game, Solasta, you're going to be creating all 4 members of your party. You're not going to create your main character, because there's not a main character. You're a party of 4 characters. And you're not going to be just picking up companions as you move on forward. You're going to be creating all 4 of your characters. So if you want to make a party that is 4 wizards, just go ahead, you know, have fun. It might change the difficulty quite a bit, to be honest, if you're not making like a very, you know, varied party. Like if you have no healing whatsoever, you're probably gonna ruin yourself buying health potions. If you're playing a full stack of 4 fighter dwarves, you might have problems with more, you know, range enemies, and you know, when a wizard in your party could have thrown a fireball to just clear all the enemy goblins, you'll be just tasked with killing every goblin one at a time with your fighters. So again, you make what you want to do. We don't prevent you from playing the way you want to play, but keep in mind that the experience is not going to adapt to make it easier because you've made those choices before. So I hope you guys enjoyed. The video was quite long, and I hope I didn't, like, you know, ramble on too much. So again, if you feel like this type of video is something you enjoy, just make sure you leave a comment so we make more in the future. Or if you feel like, you know, articles are better because they take a little bit less time, again, just leave a comment. And if you have any suggestion as to what you would like us to talk about next time, feel free. We're very much open to suggestions here. So if you, for example, want to have like a more in-depth talk about the lore, or you know, a little bit of like fun facts about development or stuff like that, just feel free to just leave a comment. And again, we'll be doing our best to make those dreams a reality. Alright guys, thank you for watching, and cheers. And if you haven't, make sure you subscribe to the channel again, and especially make sure you wishlist us on Steam. It really helps a lot. Thank you guys, and see you next time.